Hello everybody and welcome to Tasso Show. Today I thought that we would look into Blacknut Cloud Gaming. For those who don't know what is Blacknut, Blacknut is basically a cloud gaming services from France that is available in the United States. For those who wonder, but obviously it's also available in France, but I'm not in France right now to check it out. I would be very curious to try it for when I go visit my family or something. But anyway, today I'm going to show you a little bit more about the interface that exists on the PC app that Blacknut have. And my goal is mostly to talk about everything that you can see within that app, including obviously the amount of games that they have and so forth. So let's get started, shall we? So hello, as you can see, you can have multiple people if you want, multiple user accounts. I think there's a certain amount that you can get with the default offering. And just so you all know, the price of Blacknut is $15.99 per month. I'm gonna double check that just to be safe. But yeah, per month you have to pay $15.99 to get access to Blacknut. I don't think they have any special other type of subscription, but I'm gonna double check that to be sure. But the goal of Blacknut is to be actually very family friendly, so you can create multiple accounts. So as you can see here, the homepage is mostly promoting one game, and then it promotes what's recently added, some extra game to discover, and then try to have the main game types available. So for example, here you have racing, here you have runners, here you have sport, here you have action games, stealth games, and so forth. The funny thing with Blacknut that I really appreciate is that they have a part named Narrative, a part named Retro, and also for those who are more like me and that actually love to play point-and-click video games, they do have a section for point-and-click, which take a long time to see because you can see that I'm actually like loading and loading new stuff. But point and click, they have some part about point and click, which is really cool. All right, we are at the bottom of the home page, and I'm confirming that Blacknut is $15.99 per month. So it's a little bit expensive compared to, let's say, Stadia or other platforms that exist. That being said, there's much more game, but we're going to talk about those games in a minute. But let's start with the account level here. You can see that it's me, Tasso Show. I'm using like a Neverland avatar, as you can see here. You have a system of account management, and here you can see, yes, I can add more people, and that's the whole great thing about it. You can create a new profile. I do not want to create a new one, but you can see it's available. There's some personalization. I prefer dark mode, notification when there is, a newsletter if you want to subscribe or not. I'm not going to go into the details of email and security because I don't want you to see my stuff. But subscription, you can see that I'm subscribed and every month is taken at a certain time. There is a help section which sends you to the site. There's a contact support if you need some support. And there's a connection test that you can do. You can see that right now it's recommended a download speed of at least 6 megabytes to stream games. Let's check it out now. Let's see what it's gonna say. I'll take a little bit of time to check it, but at least it's good that we have a connection test, so like that you can test it by yourself. Okay, it's a little bit long, but I don't know, you don't know like how long it's gonna take because there's no indication whatsoever to tell you when actually it's gonna stop. Okay, it's done. So you can see that I'm okay. I'm kind of okay. Alright, now if we go back to the home page, you can see the home page. I think that the way that they present some of the games here at the hero level is pretty cool. You will see that they did a lot of efforts about trying to put some videos every single time of every single game, which I think is pretty nice. So if you look at the recently added, you can see that every time that you go to a specific page, there's kind of like something promoted. But they do add quite a lot of games. The problem here is that they don't... there's a lot of games that they added like months ago that still show as new. And that is something that I'm not super fan of because it's, you know... I wish that they really show what is new from the month only and not necessarily from the last 3 or 4 months. But you can see that there's quite a lot that they add every single time. They have a section which is more like their newsletter, so you can learn a little bit more about some games. What I like about it is that, let's say we go here, 6 games for fun of quirky little race cars. They do talk about certain things, but then they also allow you to directly go to the game itself to actually play it. Oops, I didn't want to launch that. But you can see that they actually do a great job in trying to promote things. Now, what is interesting is this. I'm going to show you something else. So let's say Oh, okay. I guess that right now I cannot go further than this. But sometimes these games that actually got removed and they don't necessarily tell you about it, and it's too bad. Because, for example, one time there was stuff that were promoting Monkey Island, but Monkey Island is not available anymore on Blacknut. So, you know, I think it's great, but also they have to be careful about that particular thing. You don't want necessarily to promote games that may not be there anymore. Then you have a browsing section here, which you can see is kind of organized with multiple themes. One of them is mostly parents, kids, teens, and multiplayer, because this is really trying, Blacknut Cloud Gaming is really trying to promote that you can play as a family, okay? And there's a lot of kids-friendly game in that particular, in the games that they have, and that's why it's interesting. But let's say that I'm going on point and click. You will see that there's a main point and click games that is promoted here. It's Goodbye Deponia, and then there's a lot of other games that are being, shown. That being said, it's not all the games that sometimes are being shown here. So if you really want to see absolutely everything, there's another way to do it through the search here, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. Now you have a favorite section. You can see what are the games that I played recently. I didn't really play 7 years from now. I just opened it super duper quickly, but right now I'm still playing Dry Drowning, which is the main games I'm doing right now on Blacknut. But I also put my favorites here. One thing you need to be very careful about with the favorites is that you cannot put absolutely everything. Because you can see here, it stops at S, and you see that they are S, P. I'm gonna actually do something. I'm gonna go to ResPLZ, and I'm gonna remove it from my favorite. You will see that now if I go back on favorites, some favorites I couldn't see are actually showing. So subject 13 was something that we couldn't see earlier, and now we can see it. I'm gonna actually remove Samsara as well here. And now, let's see. You can see that Tandem is showing up with a T, which wasn't there before. So there's a limited amount, and the problem is that you cannot really organize them, because you either organize them alphabetically, or you organize them by date. Or by genre. But in any case, whether you do that or not, it's always limited, so you have to be careful about it. So for example, right now, we actually Did we see Tandem? Yeah, so for example, Tandem is not showing right now, even though I know that I put it down as a game. Let's see with a date. With a date version, you can see that Tandem is showing this time. But there's probably some of the games that does not show. So for example, Dry Drowning, which I'm playing right now, which I put as my favorite too, is not even showing here. So there's pros and cons to all of this, right? Just so you know. And then the last thing we're going to look at is the search. So first thing first, there's no search per name. You cannot search per name. You can search by genre, and I can put multiple of them if I want action and adventure together. You can search by multi-mode or playable with gamepad. You can search by content ratings, and you can search by duration, which I love, by the way. The duration thing is really cool. So you can see that there's 132 games they consider low duration and so forth. But we're going to go into one of the game to actually show a little bit of the stuff. But the funny part of this is that by default, there's no filters, and there is a total of 514 games available. That's a lot of games. If you compare to, for example, Stadia Pro, or if you compare with Amazon Luna, we have much less game. Although, here's the things that I'm gonna say, is that most of those games here, they're definitely not your AAA games. So things that you get from Amazon Luna that are AAA, like Resident Evil and all that, don't expect this to be on Blacknut, because Blacknut does not have that. Or don't expect like Disney games, because there's nearly none. But there is some interesting indie games that shows up here, like Among the Sleep, Anima. There's also games like Beholder, Badland, Black Sad, Delivers the Moon, Chicken Police, Evoland. So you can see that there's a lot of games that are more like indie games, more than anything else. And a lot of kids-friendly games, like that Ginger, for example, here. Copanito, which is like a soccer game. Max, the Curse of Brotherhood. And we have something that nearly none of the other cloud gaming platforms have, which are the runners game. Personally, I'm not that much into runner games, or at least if I am into runner games, it's probably on a phone more than on a PC platform. But don't forget that Blacknut is available on Android, it's available on iPhone, iOS, and it's also available on TV, if I'm not wrong. So in a way, you can still play all of those within the cloud. That's the whole goal of Blacknut. Everything is on the cloud, and you don't need to install anything. You just need to install their software, make sure that you remember your password, make sure that you have a good internet connection, and voila, that's it. Now, that being said, one thing that I also noticed is that the gamepads that we're talking about here sometimes may not necessarily be the one that you would want. So, for example, I have an Xbox 360 gamepad personally that I love to use for playing games on my PC. Unfortunately, a game like Anima does not support it. I think their recommendation is to have the Xbox One gamepad by default. I do think that you can make work of a kind of gamepad, but just be careful about that. That's one thing that could actually hurt you if you don't try it first. Now going back to those 540 game founds, the interesting thing here is that they're not necessarily organized by alphabetical order, because if I go down, you'll see that eventually some games that right now it's organized by alphabetical order, but if I go down further and further, okay, a normal Lost Phone, it's A, right? A New Beginning, it's a 10 Second Ninja X is a number. So it should have been up there. So you can see that it's not, I don't know how that system is organizing things. But you better go down and continue to go down and continue to go down in order to really find all the things that you would like. And that, I think, is a weird system. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Oh, Felix Roripa is still here. Perfect. But you can, but this one thing I really love is that you go on top of things and you can actually see the game and the trailer of the game, which really help you kind of understand what type of game it is. And I really love that. I think it's something that you don't necessarily see in most other competitors. So for example, if you take PlayStation Plus Premium, which used to be PlayStation Now, you don't have any video or nothing that can help you understand what kind of game it is. If you go to the Xbox Game Pass and that you try the Xbox Cloud Gaming, same thing. You have to go to the store, to the Microsoft Store, to actually see the information. Google Stadia has some system like that too, I think. Not as good in my opinion, but they did update their design recently, Google Stadia, so we can talk about that when I'm doing a video about Google Stadia, which I think I never did so far, so I need to do that. And Amazon Luna, I don't remember they also have this kind of thing. I do not have Posteroid, I do not have Atomic, which are other cloud gaming platforms that I would love to try eventually one of these days. But as you can see, I feel that from a standpoint of look and feel, Blacknut Cloud Gaming is probably within the best. And I appreciate that. There's a lot of little problems that I already mentioned for, so you have to acknowledge those as well. Now, let's go inside some of those. So for example, let's go inside AO Tennis 2. You can see here that there's a lot of information that are given to you, which is pretty cool. With the age, the playability, if you can play with if you can play on the phone, how many players you can have. You can see like the video running behind the scene, which is really cool. You can turn on the sound, which I'm gonna turn off pretty fast. And if you really want to see just the video, you can press that thing here to actually see the video, which is great too. You can see that it gives like a lot of information: the game type, if it's audio, subtitles, or interface, the duration, the difficulty, some ratings sometimes, which is pretty cool. Although, yeah, we can talk about how they decided to pick some of those, which sometimes can be interesting. And then there's the you will also like, which I think is actually not bad at all. Like it does show things that are pretty similar. This seems cute. Anyway. One thing I wanted to show is maybe on another game quickly. Let's take Alien Rage, for example, here. It's an FPS. Duration 7 hours, difficulty high. You can see that they give even a difficulty, which is pretty cool. But you notice that there is a way to add to favorite or directly go to play game. Now, one thing that I wanted to say here that is interesting to me is that there is no way for you to actually get back into some of those items easily within the interface here, unless you know about that button up there. The back button is all the way at the top left. And when you do that, your search is back to the original search. So let's say that I pick up something that was loaded later on. So for example, let's take Steel Rats. So I'm going back. Unfortunately, I'm losing my whole thing, so I have to go back down in order to find it back, right? So that is a little bit bizarre. But oh well. Now, what I want to show you as well from here is, let's take low duration and point and click. Actually, I'm curious if it's, well, of course, no games found. Medium duration and point and click. So I don't know exactly what this means, right? Medium duration. What is medium duration? 5 hours? 10 hours? That's the thing that, it's not always mentioned. But as you can see here, 8 hours seems to be medium duration from what they say. If I go back, it does keep that information, by the way, that filtering, so it's not too bad as well. And I think that's about all I wanted to say about kind of like the interface and all that. Now, let's talk about some interesting things that I noticed while playing with dry droning. When I play the game, sometime, so it does show that system are saying pending, and you can see that they ask you not to change the graphics settings, so you have to be careful about that. I want to stop that because I don't want it to run, but sometimes the game just do not run for me. Sometimes it happens I do not run, or when the thing is finished, it says that something is wrong, or sometimes when you start again, it's as if the system knew that you started it, so it already started to play the game a teensy bit. So you have to be careful about this kind of thing. Another thing that's interesting that you may have noticed, there's nothing that talks about achievements, and guess what? It's because there's none. So you don't have achievements. And that is very important for you to know if you're a fan of achievements. You will not get them here. Okay? It's too bad because I think it would have been cool to have some achievement system. Now, the other interesting thing that I noticed within Blacknut is that it does not actually try to call any other system that exists on your machine. So, remember when I did that NVIDIA GeForce video? NVIDIA does depend on Steam or Epic and so forth. Blacknut is not. They have their own dedicated servers probably that run those games with their own dedicated system. And that's why you do not have achievements except if the game has in-game achievements. Right? So for example, certain games may have achievements automatically added into it without using the extra interface that they're from. So that's a little thing to know about. There's something that was interesting when I played to dry droning as well. It seems that there's some cache of your save states on your machine, which I think is a good and a bad thing. Why is it a good thing? It's because let's say that for some reason the server crashed, the one that you played with, and for some reason it corrupted your save states because of that. Blacknut will be smart enough to actually find back your save state, or it looks like that. Because I remember that one time when I was playing, there was something saying something about my save states. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate the fact that they have some kind of cache that seems to be there to actually make sure that your save are not lost. Now that being said, obviously if you want to play on the cloud, it means that your save state has to be on servers. So hopefully it does work pretty well if I go to another device and pick it up from there. But if my saves are corrupt, I assume that it means that unfortunately the game will just think that I have no saves. So just be careful about that. I don't know how other typical cloud gaming systems are actually managing save states. I wouldn't be too worried about PlayStation Plus because I think that PlayStation did that for forever, the cloud saving, you know. But it's something that was eye-opening to me, and I appreciate the fact that it seems that Blacknut thought about that. Alright, now let's finish with a selection of games. So like I told you, the selection of games is mostly games that are indie games. There's some games that are kind of like known, but not necessarily like AAA games, right? So AO Tennis 2, Avicii Invector, the Agatha Christie, I think those are more likely Aragami, more likely like higher end indie games, right? In a sort, Bee Simulator. But then with some games that are mostly like, you know, that a French crowd will know them. Like for example, all the Asterix and Obelix here. you will see that there's also, let's see if I can find it. Unfortunately, it's not going to show straight off the bat, but there's things like T-Turf, which I'm sure for people that are from the Marsupilami, for people that are in the United States may not mean a lot. It does mean much, 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 much more for a French crowd and audience. That being said, you can see that the list of games, they're not bad. They're just not your 3A games that you may find somewhere else. Although, that's what I love about it. There's a lot of things that this Blacknut Cloud Gaming system does really well, which is give me the games that are indies, but that are kind of cool indies. And for point and click, I think they're definitely there. They have a lot of Daedalus game, like Silence, State of Mind is from Daedalic. Sorry, I don't know why I said it. They have Kona, for example, which is pretty cool in my opinion. They have things like, if we go back, we have all the Deponias, Epistory, like Cafe Rain is there, the Siberia games are there. It's a lot of pretty cool games in a sort. It's not necessarily the greatest games that you can get, but they're still cool games that are great to try. And I think that if you're making fun of things like Finding Teddy, I don't think that's necessarily fair, because a lot of those, you know, when you play them and you want to have something that is not too long, but that is still like different and a little bit more oriented into like having a narrative, I think that we have a decent amount of games here. I'm hoping that we're going to continue to actually grow more like the point and click and the narrative and things that actually other cloud gaming systems are not thinking about having. Now, I know that a lot of, if you look at, for example, the PlayStation Plus Premium, I do think that PlayStation Plus Premium do a really good job in trying to make a mix and match of things. And I'm going to do a video about PlayStation Plus Premium eventually, because with the change from PlayStation Now to PlayStation Plus Premium, they did quite a lot of change on their game listing. But that being said, I don't think that the games that are here are bad. I don't know, I selected narrative, but it still showed me 514 games, which is weird. Let's go back, let's try again. Okay, much better. But I do admire the fact that they're trying to have some stuff that are different. And that is very important. It's a large list of games, so there's probably some games you're gonna be like, well, what do I care about it? Like for me, a game like All-Star Foot Racing, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Or with Asphalt, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But, you know, there's Blaze Blue, which is fun. There's Black Sad, which seems to be a very fun, like, adventure game. There's games like Evolence 2, you know, Fury. You is here, which is a very fair game, and I'm gonna try to go down here so like that you can see a little bit more of the list. Like Overcooked is here. Rise. Some Centros are here too, which is not bad, like that's AAA in a sort. The King of Fighters is here too. So there are some games that are not, you know, Warhammer, Chaos Bane. There are some games that I think are pretty cool that they have. Then with some of those games like Abraca, Magic games here, so I'm like, well, I don't know, like it doesn't seem that interesting to me. But it could interest a kid audience, you know. Like maybe for you kids, if you have kids, is a great way also to promote some games that are more done for them. Away seems really cool, by the way. I need to try this one of these days. And a lot of those used to be on PlayStation Now, by the way, like Blood Bowl 2, Bond by Flame, I think Back to Bed, and was kind of Bang Bang Racing. A lot of those kind of disappeared with PlayStation Plus Premium. So in a way, I still have those games thanks to thanks to Blacknut, when I think about it. And yes, that's about it. I just wanted to show you everything. We're gonna go down on that list so that you can see a little bit more what's available before I stop that video. But yeah, on and on, I think that there's some good game. I think that it's good actually to have certain games that are not necessarily what you get from other platforms. It's fun that we have Kangaroo 2, Run 2 here. I don't know if it's the original retro game or if it's a version that was like remake. So you see a game like Koh-Lanta, nobody would know what it is except for French people. Koh-Lanta is like Survivor in France, for those who don't know. Let's see. Well, we have a lot of Metal Slug, I'm actually surprised by that. But yeah, for me overall, I think that it's a great way to learn to play new games, indie games that you may actually be surprised about. And that's what I love about it. I always wonder what is cinema. Oh, okay, it's shoot them up. And let's go down, let's see more, because it's 514. I'm not gonna say the name of each of them because otherwise it will take forever. I may do a separate video just for that. But you can see that there's a lot of games. I wonder when we have Wants to be a Millionaire if it's the... Anyway, it will be interesting to see like if we have a French version of it or something else. Wow, they have Blade Master, interesting. So we do have some retro games as well, which is cool. We do have Chronicle of Teddy, which I think is... I guess it's... I don't know if it's the same than Finding Teddy or not, I have to double check. But I really like that system where you go on top of it and then you can see a little bit of what the game looks like, which I really appreciate that they did something like that, it's really cool. I do have a lot of SNK game, I'm actually surprised about that. Dread Running is a great game, I did a game preview about it. Well, a great game. I think there's some good and bad about it, but we can talk about that maybe another time. Let's continue, let's see how down the list we can go to. But yeah, that's a lot of game, right? Like, I think Utomic has the most games. I think he has even more than what Blacknut has. But don't forget that Utomic, compared to Blacknut, you actually need to download a part of the game, and then we can run it, and then it finishes to actually download. Which for me, it's like, I don't want to download the game, I just want to make sure that I play it online directly. Sometimes it's just better. But I can understand the opposite is also important, because sometimes you don't want the game to suddenly, like, because of your internet blocking, that suddenly you have problems with it, right? So yeah, you can see that I'm still going down and there's still some game. Oh, the Flamingo, I wanted to check. Oh, okay, it's a shoot 'em up. The Great Perhaps, I think, is an adventure game. So hopefully there's some games that you find interesting. A Blind Legend. I'll check what that is. some, when I see them, I'm like, oh, that interests me. Some is like, well, classic tic-tac-toe. Like, well, what would I do with that, really? And it's not against some of those games, by the way. I think it's fine to have like games that are a little bit more unknown, let's say. But we do have Little Big Adventure 2, which is pretty cool. Too bad we don't have I'm wondering if they have the first one, actually. Huh. Ninja Spirit. I don't have a clue what this one is. Alright, we went up to the end of the list. So yeah, you can see that it's not where you're gonna have like super famous game, but it could be games that you find interesting and games that you would want your kids to play. I think with some good little things like The Lion Song, which is a good game. Then I don't know, things like Tears of Avia, I don't know what it is about. There's not that many RPGs, as you can see, which may be too bad, but at the same time, there's not that many RPGs that are... Well, there's a lot of RPGs that are indie, but there's not a lot of RPGs that are easy to get, I guess, on those kind of platforms. Because I don't see that many RPGs overall. Well, Anyway, here it is. That's the list that you have on the Blacknut Cloud Gaming, and I hope that it gives you a little bit of an idea. I never know when they add new games. That's always a surprise to me. I don't feel that we're following an exact like, oh, every beginning of month we add new games. It doesn't look like that to me, but who knows. So yeah, that's it. I spent a lot of time on Blacknut Cloud Gaming, so hopefully it gives you a lot of good ideas about it. Like I said, the subscription model is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's multiple subscription systems, so I'm gonna check that right now for you, because I don't remember. And you know what, I thought that it would be good for me, because with some games from friends I always wanted to actually play, like some of those Tituff or Kirikou or stuff like that. Yeah, they just have $15.99 per month. And it's a no lock-in contract, so you can stop it any month that you want, and up until the end of the month you can play, and then, you know, like, you don't have it anymore after that. I know there's new games every month, by the way. I know that they do that. No, it's just that I don't know when they do it. It's not very clear sometimes. And that's about it. And one thing important that is being said is that there is parental control, and you can create up to 5 separate accounts. Okay? Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching that video about what is Blacknut Cloud Gaming, and I hope that gives you an idea about what it is and what are the good stuff about it, what are the bad stuff about it. And that you give it a chance if you like cloud gaming, and if you like playing a lot of indie games, so there's a lot of things that you feel like, okay, I don't want to use a lot of my space on my computer. I guess it's a good way for you to try out things and actually to play something. Alright, thank you so much everybody. If you like that video, please like it, and please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Alright everyone, toast out, bye bye.